I reincarnated into a fantasy world. He saw a chandelier instead of a lamp and candles on the walls instead of LED lights. He realized that it must be a fantasy world that lagged behind the real world in terms of civilization. He was lying in his mother's arms, and a maid stood beside them. In his previous life, he was an orphan who died from overwork. Our protagonist knew, based on the appearance of his enchanting mother, that he was born into a wealthy household. When he looked at his mother, it was clear to him that he would have no problems in his love life in his future life. The years passed quickly, and 3 years later, our protagonist climbed onto a rickety chair and looked out the window into the wide world. It confirmed his suspicion that it was now a different world. The maid saw her master on the wobbly chair, and so his initial small adventure quickly came to an end. She took him in her arms and explained that it was dangerous to stand on such an unstable chair. He found out that his family was part of the Grand Duchy within the kingdom. Our protagonist was the son of the Grand Duke of Dragonia in the Kingdom of Lionheart. At the age of 8, he received his first sword and began training his swordsmanship so that one day he could become a knight for his kingdom. He looked excited as he inspected his sword. He wondered if he could also use something like aura or chi. His master was a knight sent from the palace to train him. His name was Holy Knight Sir Gothic. Sir Gothic said that it must be the will of the goddess and that it would be very worthwhile to train our protagonist. He welcomed our protagonist, who bore the name Leon. Leon was excited in his youthful recklessness to be trained by Sir Gothic. But meanwhile, Leon realized that training was not fun, but more akin to torture. He came to the realization that a holy knight was a monster among men, and becoming one was extremely difficult. Sir Gothic was very strict and ordered Leon to go for another round with the stone he was dragging behind him. To become a holy knight, one had to complete tasks and train. They had to become a knight with experience and honor, and they also had to be chosen by the Holy Grail and drink its water. Leon trained daily with Sir Gothic. However, Sir Gothic was a monster and taught Leon everything he knew without regard for losses. He struck Leon, reminding him to always pay attention to his opponent until the end. Leon flew backward, and his sword shattered. Completely exhausted and trembling, Leon lay on the ground, gasping for breath. Several more years passed, and Leon was now 16 years old. He traveled through the world in the rain, on a journey to be recognized by the deity and be appointed as a holy knight. Suddenly, he saw smoke rising from the forest. It was a village under attack by orcs, engulfed in flames. Multiple knights tried to defend the village, but the orcs outnumbered them. The knights thought it was the end and began to pray to their deity. Suddenly, an orc turned around, and Leon swiftly cut the orc in half, ending the attack. 20 years later, he finally found the long-sought-after deity. She gave him a task to test him and his fate, and he accepted the challenge. After many years of toil, he became a holy knight. From then on, there was only one task he committed himself to, killing everything that stood in his way. He tore orcs apart, killed goblins, and crushed the evil sect. Over time, Leon became a warlord, slaughtering over 700,000 orcs, including women and children. He harbored a deep hatred for orcs but still managed to smile. By now, he was 35 years old, and the former king had died while battling an archdemon. Orcs had already been giving Leon headaches, and now demons were roaming around, spreading fear and terror. In order to lead a peaceful life in these times, many believed in gods. Leon despised the mages of the kingdom who had summoned the archdemon. The deity chose Leon to become the new king because he had gained her trust and honor. He accepted this honor but did not want to abandon his knights and followers. He received the sacred treasure of the goddess, consumed it, and swore to protect the Holy Grail. That's how the story unfolded. And he became the Grand Duke and King over the Lionheart Kingdom. 80 years later, many things had happened. There were 3 major wars with the orcs. A despicable goblin evolved into an archdemon, and the kingdom faced more terrible situations. A knight informed Leon that the kingdom's school of black magic was conducting further experiments. Leon realized that it was the kingdom's fault when they fell into the northern cult's clutches. Leon gathered his knights, he intended to conquer them. 96 years had passed since Leon's birth. The bastards of the kingdom had finally done it. They were in the midst of performing a ritual. The emperor sacrificed 3 million lives and begged for the fulfillment of his wish not to die. But he died along with 3 million civilians, summoning the Lord of Chaos in the heart of the capital. 121 years after Leon's birth, he set off for the capital. He did his best, but the world was destroyed, despite his hopes for something different. Leon picked up a doll and remembered that he had done everything in his power to vanquish evil with all the holiness that existed on the continent. But he couldn't. Leon was surrounded by fallen warriors and clenched his fist. A knight spoke to him, pulling him out of his thoughts and back into the real world. Leon told the knight that he could be proud of his father, he died with honor and would now feast with the gods. Leon looked at his troops and asked them if they could hear the sound of evil that swept across the land. He boosted the morale of his troops as the forces of evil rushed toward his fortress. He asked his troops once again if they could hear the sounds of those who took their loved ones. He enraged his troops for one last battle. The doll that Leon had picked up now lay at a grave. Leon reminded his troops that as long as they had honor, they could never be defeated. Leon magically summoned his weapon and prepared for battle. The goddess said that she would be by Leon's side until the end. The flag with the Duke's symbol waved in the air. Leon called for honor, for Lionheart, and all the troops charged forward. They fought against millions of demons that plagued the earth. On the battlefield, one could see dragon-like creatures, worms, and millions of other beings. Barbarians who served as slaves were cannon fodder, while civilians equipped with barricades and shields died alongside honorable knights. Only Leon, the chosen one of all the gods in the holy temple, defeated the demons until the end. Leon tore apart thousands of demon lords and archdemons. He showed the demons his holy strength. 256 years after Leon's birth, he finally destroyed the last demon portal, leaving no possibility for the demons to escape. Determined, Leon announced that they were now forever trapped with him in this world. The demons looked fearful as Leon declared his intention to defeat every single one of their kind. Leon wasted no time and immediately set to work. 300 years after Leon's birth, a gigantic demon was defeated unilaterally in a matter of seconds. A group of people stood beside the defeated body, wondering what had happened. The decapitated head of the demon was visible. In disbelief, the people turned their gaze toward Leon, who had a yellow aura surrounding him. They wondered who Leon was. Leon introduced himself as the King of Lionheart and the envoy of the Holy Temple. Naked, Leon now stood among the mortals. The humans were astounded. It had taken Leon 300 years to encounter people from his world again, and in the process, he had defeated countless demons. A black portal opened in the midst of Seoul. Unfortunately, it couldn't be classified. The Korea Hunter Association and the World Hunter Association sent a request to the largest guilds for assistance with this portal. However, due to the lack of difficulty assessment for the portal, this help was declined. In the end, it was decided to send in the Korea Hunter Association, which resembled a suicide mission. The members of the Korea Hunter Association displayed their fear. Upon entering the portal, the sky was soaked in blood, and Leon could be seen naked on the battlefield. A red-haired woman was astounded by the sight within the portal. Thousands of demon corpses lay on the ground. The red-haired woman, whose name appeared to be Han Hari, snapped out of her daze. Another man named Kim Jinsoo handed her a coffee. He asked what had happened, and she told him that no one would believe it. He understood and said it was to be expected. The portal was likely a rank black demon portal, possibly even with a greater demon. The fact that they had returned without the help of other guilds was a true miracle, and to clean it up as well was unimaginable, all because they had encountered Leon. Leon was sitting fully dressed at a desk in an interrogation room. They realized that Leon was a survivor from the inside of the portal. There were occasional instances where people managed to survive in a world within the portal. These portals had been appearing randomly around the world for the past 30 years. The theme was always a world on the brink of destruction or a world that had already fallen into chaos. Sometimes, survivors from those worlds managed to make it back to Earth, retaining the incredible strength they had gained in the demon world. That's why the government is doing its best to provide for and recruit these survivors. Hari said they must recruit Leon because he is incredibly strong. Jinsoo agreed with her. Even an A-rank hunter would have to risk their life fighting against a high-ranking demon, but Leon defeated it with just one strike. It was a monster that even S-rank hunters feared. Leon didn't simply kill it, he completely overwhelmed it. Jinsoo, however, was concerned about the cultural circumstances. But Hari was less worried about that, explaining that she could hear it in his voice. Upon Hari's words, Leon screamed, shattering the glass. Glass that could even stop monsters splintered and flew around wildly. Hari and Jinsoo were amazed. Leon became enraged, and a yellow aura surrounded him. Sarcastically, Jinsoo repeated Hari's words, and Hari then repeated Jinsoo's. 15 minutes earlier, a camera recorded the conversation. An agent took notes on a flat piece of paper and spoke with Leon. It felt unfamiliar to Leon. He remembered his past life as an orphan in his 20s, dying from exhaustion. He remembered being reborn and becoming a king for over a century. Despite living for 300 years, he still had memories of Earth. The agent gathered his courage and addressed Leon. Leon looked focused. Leon saw no advantage in revealing that he also originated from Earth. He opened his mouth and insisted on being addressed as His Majesty, insulting the agent as a peasant. The agent was somewhat surprised and shocked. Beads of sweat running down his face. He played along, apologizing and continuing to address Leon as His Majesty. Leon wondered if the agent was just a nice person or if the government would treat all survivors like him. The agent explained to Leon that his world had made contact with Leon's and asked if he had defeated all the demons. Leon affirmed this. Leon asked the agent if he had already forgotten. The agent didn't know what Leon meant. Leon then explained that he had defeated all the evil and protected the honor of the knights. He then demanded that the agent become his temporary secretary. The agent remembered, and beads of sweat ran down his face once again. He noted that there would likely be some cultural differences. In a royal manner, Leon expressed his hunger, prompting the agent to immediately order food. Leon also wanted to know what kind of world he was in now, to understand how much the world had changed in recent years. The agent began the explanation. The portals had appeared all over the world 30 years ago, and monsters and demons emerged from them. After this incident, the world was permanently in a state of alert. After suffering many defeats, they realized that each portal had its own theme and quest to fulfill. If the quest wasn't completed, monsters would come out of the portal and attack the Earth. There was a knock on the door, and the agent interrupted his explanation to receive the food. Leon contemplated how in his world, demons had multiplied like mushrooms after rain. Here, on Earth, there were portals with themes and tasks. Leon continued to ponder, realizing that it was as if people were training through these tasks. The agent, now addressing Leon as His Majesty, informed him that the food was now ready. Leon looked down at the food, steam rising from the bowl. Leon recognized the dish. Before he was reborn, it was his favorite meal. However, Leon suppressed his craving for his former favorite food. He asked what kind of food it was, stating that it seemed to be the favorite food of a commoner. Leon shouted and pounded on the table, demanding a meal befitting His Majesty. He questioned how they dared to present him with something like that. The good food remained on the floor, still steaming. Leon feigned shock, asserting that even though he was back on Earth, he was still a king. A juicy steak was on the plate, accompanied by some rosemary and a few lemons. Leon ate the steak. Hari was grateful that Leon at least enjoyed a T-bone steak and drank a red wine from the year 1933. Jinsoo told Hari that she should enter first. Hari was shocked, as she couldn't speak the ancient language. Jinsoo replied that Leon seemed to be more interested in her than the others. Jinsoo also mentioned that Hari was the only one who received a compliment from Leon. Hari opened the door to the conference room and greeted Leon. Leon wiped his mouth and recognized Hari as the woman with the sword whom he had saved. He asked her to take a seat. Jinsoo looked from the surveillance room, subtly signaling to Hari. Sweat beads dripped down Jinsoo's face. Hari asked if Leon liked the food, and Leon said it wasn't bad. Leon explained that it wasn't the food that made it difficult for them, but rather their attitude towards a king. Hari turned blue and explained that she wasn't aware of this and regretted not showing him enough respect. Leon reassured her that it was alright and asked for her name. Leon's eyes sparkled with focus as he asked if the demons were also on Earth. Hari had only one task, to recruit him, and she confirmed his question. She was determined to win Leon over for her country. In the 21st century, gaining survivors was a reason for a world war. It didn't matter how much they gave them, as long as they didn't join another country. Leon, still focused, stated that as long as he lived in this world, he had the duty to take the battlefield. He was still an honorable knight, and fighting was the only right thing to do. Hari was already excited, it almost sounded like Leon was joining the Hunter Association. Leon then explained that a king couldn't simply be a soldier of a nation, therefore, he wanted to establish a knight order. Hari was speechless and nodded. She asked what the higher-ups would say about this matter. Jinsoo explained that they couldn't say anything because they had to provide him with as much support as he needed. It was fantastic that he didn't go to another country or join a larger guild. Hari felt somewhat dejected at the thought of the government having to bow down to him. She was angry about it and stated that it was only because of the other guilds that flaunted their strength and wealth, citing the Phoenix Guild as an example. Suddenly, the ground shook, and an alarm went off. Hari and Jinsoo received a message on their phones that a portal was on the verge of breaking out, releasing monsters. Jinsoo explained that if the demons were to appear in this location, they would destroy at least half of the grain storage and production. Hari stated that the portal needed to be closed in the area of the Phoenix Guild, it shouldn't be a difficult task for their S-rank leader. However, Jinsoo believed that their leader, Yongwon SSI, had other plans. He said they needed to go quickly and stop it. Meanwhile, Leon overheard the conversation. He realized that they were in trouble and that things were different from his world. He controlled the flow of his yellow aura from his hand and wondered if they were okay. As a result, a connection was established, and a castle was seen with a woman inside. She turned around, revealing a beautiful smile. The grain fields didn't look healthy. An orange portal circled above the fields. It became apparent that the Phoenix Guild was already on site but did nothing. Hari and Jinsoo realized that they intended to let the monsters and demons appear simply because they hadn't complied with the guild's demands. They wanted tax exemptions because they made a lot of money from things they obtained from the portals. Jinsoo looked desperate, while Yongwon had a dirty grin on his face. Jinsoo was angry, they already had enough privileges as a large guild, yet they were willing to allow such things just because a demand wasn't met. Hari brought it to Yongwon's attention that they needed to close the portal now, unless it was too late. Sarcastically, Yongwon pointed to his healthy members and claimed they were severely injured. They laughed in a dirty manner as well. Hari was furious and yelled at Yongwon, asking if he knew what would happen if the plants became infected. Yongwon simply laughed dirtily and said he had no idea. He reminded Hari that he had already told her a year ago that justice was merely strength and money. Insulted, Leon called Yongwon shallow and outdated. Hari greeted Leon as, Your Majesty. Leon said that she shouldn't say the royal name so lightly. Yongwon spoke to Leon, but Leon angrily ordered Yongwon to be silent. Yongwon grew angry, veins popping on his head. How dare someone speak so disrespectfully to one of the 12 S-rank hunters and one of the top 10 guild masters? Yongwon was about to attack Leon, but Hari asked him to stop and explained that Leon was a survivor. Yongwon was shocked and bowed to Leon in the same breath. Yongwon asked which guild Leon belonged to, and Leon emphasized that a king doesn't speak twice. And he should remain silent. Leon asked Jinsoo to explain the problem and the portals to him. Hari and Jinsoo were overjoyed. Hari explained that this was a dungeon break, and when it happened, a great demonic energy emerged from the portal and infected the land. Seeds would not grow on such land. Furthermore, they explained to him that this land was crucial for grain production and therefore particularly critical. Leon asked determinedly if they had a solution for it. Hari explained that they had to defeat the dungeon as quickly as possible to cleanse the land. Leon understood. Leon asked Hari to gather her people. As soon as the deadline for the Phoenix Guild expired tomorrow, Leon would personally defeat the dungeon. Hari couldn't believe it. But before he could do anything, Leon needed the government's permission, or else he wouldn't be an honorable knight anymore. Yongwon realized that Leon was even worse off than him. They asked the president, and he agreed. It became night. Hari told Leon that she had made all the preparations but wondered about the significance of the straw doll she was supposed to make for him. Leon explained that their land was infected and needed to be cleansed. Hari didn't understand what all of this had to do with a straw doll. Leon asked for two things. One was the straw doll, and the other was that the women who made the dolls had to be mothers. Leon now wanted to see each doll that the women had made. Leon examined the dolls but was not satisfied. He destroyed them, throwing them away or on the ground. Eventually, an older woman approached, and Leon was amazed by her doll. It looked truly beautiful. Leon asked the elderly lady how many children she had given birth to. And the lady said 12. Enthusiastically, Leon kissed her hand. He took the doll and placed it on an altar in the middle of the grain field. He said that the condition was fulfilled, and a magical circle appeared around his hand. Leon took out a holy grail and prayed. Even Yongwon looked on in disbelief. From the holy grail emerged a golden glow, and the water multiplied. Hari was amazed. The water overflowed from the grail, and the sun began to shine. The water sprinkled all around. Leon closed his eyes and let the magic unfold. The splashing water flowed into the doll. Yongwon and his guild followers continued to be amazed. The doll stood up on its own and spoke. Leon greeted the doll, saying, Mother Earth, it has been a while. The doll looked at Leon and said that this land, too, was contaminated by demonic energy. Leon agreed and explained that while there were demons in this world, there would be no deity. Leon was concerned that the lowly beings of the Phoenix Guild would insult the eyes of their deity. The doll asked what Leon intended to do. Leon explained to the doll that he wanted to lead the people until a new pantheon arises on this earth. The doll asked if there was anything else Leon wished to ask of her. She was always ready to help. Leon prayed to the goddess, hoping that even if it wasn't her land, she could still heal and purify it for the people on earth. The doll extended a hand, and although it wasn't the goddess's home, she let a drop of her divinity fall. A bright beam of light shone toward the sky, and the initially gray plants began to regain some color. Hari, Jinsoo, and their comrades were amazed. Leon commanded them to watch and learn, as this was a world blessed with a deity. Radiantly golden rice fields stretched as far as the eye could see. Fertility and prosperity were the tasks that living beings had. Hari and Jinsoo looked in disbelief at the golden rice. Leon spoke that fertile soil was an eternal promise. Yongwon, visibly annoyed by the heroic deed, looked angrily and frustrated at the rice fields. He said that they should not be blinded, as plants created with magic were poisoned. Leon replied that these were plants blessed by a deity. And how dare Yongwon call them poisoned? Yongwon was furious at the straw doll. Leon looked at Yongwon with a cold gaze and said that he could only forgive ignorance once and that Yongwon should not insult the deity again with his flippant tongue. Yongwon had to swallow his despair, evident on his face. Yongwon's followers were unaware of this. Yongwon's plan had failed due to Leon's actions. However, Yongwon wasn't willing to let it end like that. He said that they needed to first prove that the rice was not poisoned and hoped that Leon would cooperate. Yongwon provided an expert evaluator. He put on gloves and used his magic. He looked incredulous and was astonished when he saw the magical status window, indicating that this rice was blessed and could heal curses. Completely taken aback, the evaluator announced his findings. Hari and Jinsoo were also amazed. Jinsoo asked someone to bring a pot from the chief's house. With a golden rice field in the background, a small pot stood in the middle of the field. Cooking rice. Jinsoo ate the rice and was pleasantly surprised when his stamina regeneration and mana regeneration increased. He wondered how simple rice could be as powerful as a 1,000,001 enhancer. Hari ran excitedly to Jinsoo. She spoke with food in her mouth, and Jinsoo commanded her to finish eating before talking. Hari quickly swallowed the food and shared her discovery with Jinsoo. She explained that her curiosity led her to eat a beetle, and to everyone's surprise, she also gained a buff. Jinsoo concluded that indeed the entire land had been blessed. He ordered his people to gather as much as possible, as they would enter the portal with full buffs. The deity spoke to Leon. She said that she had fulfilled her task here and needed to return. Leon expressed that he would never forget the love and sanctity. She imparted one final lesson to Leon, reminding him to take care of himself as well. The doll toppled over as quickly as she had awakened. Hari asked Leon what all of this was, and Leon replied that it was divine power. She questioned whether there was no God in this world. Hari was unsure. Leon explained that a good life and a good world are made with divine power, and that people should embrace this concept. Now that the soldiers were all full and at their maximum strength, they were ready to enter the portal. One of Yongwon's followers asked him if it was okay, as they would interfere with the plan. Yongwon looked angrily at him and insulted Leon, claiming that if it weren't for him, the government would have been forced to comply with their demands. Leon, Hari, and Jinsoo set off towards the portal. Yongwon had an idea. He reassured his follower and asked if the portal had ever been entered before and how challenging it was inside. The follower mentioned that the center was particularly difficult. Yongwon realized what he was getting at. Among the group, only Hari was an A-rank hunter. Yongwon thought that Leon was a supporter and lacked combat experience. Diabolically, he looked forward to our group's defeat, as there was a true monster lurking inside the portal that couldn't be defeated by conventional means. Having entered the portal and arrived in the dungeon, our group proceeded cautiously. Jinsoo led the group with a shield, while Leon stood behind him in the middle, and Hari was slightly ahead of him. Leon understood that most portals would close once the task or boss inside the portal was completed or defeated. He liked the idea of facing a boss. Hari was unable to inform him that it was usually a team battle. Leon noticed skeletons on the ground. They had attempted to defeat the dungeon before but had never succeeded. Hari explained that while the number of monsters would normally decrease, if they were zombies, demons, or skeletons, they would keep reappearing as long as the boss monster remained undefeated. Leon understood that it would be pointless unless they defeated the boss monster. He also realized that they were currently inside such a dungeon. Hari said it was likely a necromancer who controlled the skeletons. Suddenly, A window appeared in front of Hari's face, indicating that it was about to break, and they now had a timer of 3 hours. The boss monster would gather its troops. Everyone was frozen in place, and Jinsoo cursed Yongwon. Hari looked somewhat nervous, while Leon remained unaffected. They saw a hand holding a knight's helmet, its eyes glowing blue. On a rock, a horse reared up on its hind legs, and thousands of skeletons lurked in front of the rock. Another window appeared, informing our group that they had precisely 2 minutes and 58 seconds to defeat the knight on the horse. The skeletons prepared to attack. The morale of our group was low. Jinsoo tried to boost the group's morale and asked for concentration. A woman drew her bow and activated a skill that allowed her to see the number of enemy mages and archers. Jinsoo commanded the group like an expert, ordering the snipers to take out the long-range fighters and the tanks to block the skeletons. Thousands of skeletons approached him and launched their attacks. Jinsoo blocked the initial strikes. The skeletons were stronger than he expected. He retaliated with a counterattack. Although the skeletons were strong, they were no match for a B-rank tank like Jinsoo. He shattered a skeleton and noticed 2 mages casting a spell behind him. He wanted to draw their attention and shouted loudly through the cave. The mages now focused on Jinsoo, and magic flew towards him. The group became worried, but Jinsoo managed to withstand the attack. The Headless Knight now stood before Jinsoo. Jinsoo had a determined look in his eyes as he gazed up at the knight. The knight was surrounded by a blue aura and clad in a black armor. The Black Knight struck at Jinsoo. Jinsoo barely managed to block the attack but was thrown back by its force. He landed amidst a pile of rocks. Hari grew concerned for Jinsoo. They wanted to help Jinsoo but didn't know how to proceed. They didn't have time to wait for reinforcements, they needed help now. Hari approached Leon and asked for assistance. Leon remained calm and stated that a king doesn't intervene in such insignificant battles. Hari didn't understand. Leon said they should find ways to build their own honor. Leon couldn't believe that they were trying to force him to help when it was just a few stupid bones. The group asked Hari what they should do now, but Hari didn't understand a word of what Leon had just said. However, Hari realized that Leon had no intention of helping, and they also had no more time. Leon was only interested in the Headless Knight. Hari swung her sword and decided to defeat the boss. Everyone else should focus on taking care of Jinsoo. Hari stormed forward, past the skeletons, straight towards the Headless Knight. She leaped onto the head of a skeleton to jump even higher, reaching the level of the Headless Knight, and struck at him. However, he parried her attack with his great sword. Hari felt a bit disappointed but knew she had to do everything she could to separate him from the group. She looked into the eyes of the knight and realized, to her surprise, that he had discarded his head and was preparing to attack with his fist. She attempted to block, but she too was thrown back by the force of the impact. Hari endured the hit and quickly refocused, only to find the Headless Knight standing before her once again. Finally, she had managed to separate him somewhat. She apologized, but now she could get serious. Her ability had too wide a radius, and she didn't want to endanger her comrades. Suddenly, a massive explosion swept away everything in sight. However, the knight blocked it, and Hari launched another attack, determined to end it. Meanwhile, the knight's helmet flew back into his hand. Hari attacked him once more, but again he blocked the strike and remained unscathed. Hari noticed the stance of the knight. She closed her eyes, but nothing happened. A silence filled the cave, and all that could be heard was the sound of applause and clapping hands. Leon apologized to the Headless Knight for assuming he was just an undead creature. Leon gave the knight the opportunity to challenge him to a duel. Hari wore a surprised expression and knelt in the midst of the battle before the Headless Knight. Leon explained that there didn't need to be any more injuries, he wanted to settle it honorably and nobly between two knights. Hari, Jinsoo, and the skeleton couldn't believe their eyes and wore astonished expressions. The Headless Knight remained silent at first but then accepted the challenge. The skeletons in the cave now took an interest in the showdown between Leon and the Headless Knight. They approached slowly, observing attentively. Leon stood arrogantly before the Headless Knight but spoke with great respect. He summoned his sword and told the Headless Knight to remove his helmet. The Headless Knight remained silent. Leon stated that he was quite certain the knight fought with a two-handed sword, which put him at a disadvantage. Leon enveloped his sword with his yellow aura. Hari approached Leon and informed him that the Headless Knight wouldn't die unless Leon decapitated him. Leon asked if that was important. Hari, frozen in astonishment, replied that it should be important. Yes. She wondered how Leon would win if he couldn't decapitate the Headless Knight. The Headless Knight handed his head to one of his skeletons. Leon explained to Hari that the winner would be determined by the knight's honor. Leon and the Headless Knight assumed their starting positions. Leon spoke his name, but the Headless Knight remained silent. As soon as Leon announced the duel and finished saying his name, the Headless Knight grasped his sword correctly and charged forward, launching a powerful attack. However, Leon effortlessly blocked it. Unimpressed, Leon almost saw through the Headless Knight. He parried his attack, redirected it, and lightly touched the Headless Knight. Leon counted, 1. He readied his sword again, pointing it at the Headless Knight, following the motto, "The second round begins now." The Headless Knight raised his sword, positioned himself once more, and launched another mighty attack. Hari and Jinsoo grew worried. Leon criticized the footwork of the Headless Knight. He brought him down immediately. Jinsoo and the group could hardly believe their eyes and wondered what had just happened. Hari found it unbelievable. Jinsoo asked Hari if she had seen what had just happened, and Hari explained that Leon had altered the trajectory of the Headless Knight's sword the moment their blades made contact, executing a crosscut. No one would ever attempt that. The Headless Knight stood up again, and Leon lightly touched him with the tip of his sword for the second time, counting again, 2. Leon instructed the Headless Knight to return to his position. Leon fought against the Headless Knight for a while. The Headless Knight returned to his position and attacked Leon once more. However, Leon remained in a posture of honor and grandeur towards the Headless Knight the entire time. He accepted every attack from the knight and blocked it. He tossed the Headless Knight's sword aside and lightly touched him for the third time. Leon asked the Headless Knight if he wanted to continue. The Headless Knight, who didn't want to use magic but preferred to fight as a knight against Leon, charged at him once again. He attacked Leon multiple times, but Leon effortlessly parried all the attacks. He didn't even have to exert himself, unlike the Headless Knight. Just before Leon touched him for the 10th time, he flung away the knight's sword. Leon complimented the knight, saying that his swordsmanship was improving and asked if he was starting to regain his memories from his past life. The Headless Knight affirmed this. Leon asked if he wanted to continue, and the Headless Knight expressed his desire to do so. He called his skeleton, which held his head, and lifted it up, reminiscing about the past. He wondered how long he had fought without honor. The Headless Knight said that ending his life in this manner would fill him with joy. He lifted his head and offered it to Leon. Leon expressed his joy that the once Headless Knight had rediscovered his honor. Leon placed his hand on the knight's head and prayed for him. A bright light illuminated the cave. Leon wished that if the knight had a god, that god would let his soul rest and grant him respite. If not, he hoped that a deity would accompany him to the end of the garden. Leon expressed his desire to see the knight again someday at the festival in the halls of the gods. The light grew larger. The Headless Knight's helmet and armor dissolved. Afterwards, our group was back in the rice fields. Hari told Jinsoo that Leon had indeed kept his promise. He resolved the matter through a duel. They pondered what kind of magic Leon had used in the end. Hari remarked that he should have used that ability earlier. Leon, who had overheard the conversation, said that if he had done so, the Headless Knight would have died as a necromancer. Hari greeted Leon, and Leon continued to explain that a knight lives for honor, and that honor stems only from deeds, and deeds only happen when one has the will for them. The Headless Knight received what he deserved in the end. Leon wondered where his loot was. Hari, Jinsoo, and Leon inspected the sword, the cloak, and a purple ball with a violet aura belonging to the Headless Knight. Leon immediately noticed the ball and destroyed it, much to Jinsoo's dismay. As he was about to explain that it was likely worth a fortune. Everyone was astonished and couldn't believe that Leon had destroyed the ball. But Leon stated that items of that kind only bring chaos. This was chapter 1 to 6 of The Night King Who Returned with a God.